Welcome students. In the engineering geology, we are seeing about the natural disaster and its causes. So last few classes we are seeing about the earthquake and also now we are seeing about the landslide. Okay, the landslide, already we saw what are the causes, what are the classification of landslides. Now we will be seeing about the measures to be taken to prevent their occurrence at landslides and some case studies we will see. Okay, so again and again I am giving you this one. This what is a landslide? Landslide is nothing but a downward or outward movement of the rock or a land mass, right? It may be a soil, rock or vegetation under the influence of gravity. This is the general definition. But as a geologist we will be saying it is also known as the landslip. That is a geological phenomenon that includes a wide range of ground movements such as rock falls, deep failure of slopes or shallow debris flow, everything that we call it as the landslide. Debris comes under the broken houses, that is from the houses or the lands, trees, everything, all that is unwanted materials, we call it as the debris. And as a geological person, that is if you are a foundation person, that is a geotechnical person, then you will be seeing that the movement of the mass of the rock, that is where shear stress exceeds the shear strength. Okay. So now today we will be seeing about the indicators of the landslide phenomenon. How we can know what is a landslide and what are the things that we have to do before a landslide, after a landslide, and what are the mitigation measures that we have to take, and we will see some of the case studies. Okay. So the steep slope. Terrain are morphological features indicating the risk of a the first one, it is a steep slope. Wherever there is in a hill, if there is a steep slope like this, then the mass of this will go down and it will make a shallow slope. Shallow slope. That is what? If there is a steep slope is there, then there will be a indication that there will be a landslide. That is the angles over 30 degrees, then it will be have to be avoided for avoiding the landslide. The next one, hold the landslide sites. Because already if there is a landslide that has occurred, right? So if there is a landslide that has occurred, what happens? Again and again the sedimentary rocks will be the things that will be accumulated there. So that will be a very new rock and old rock will be there. Old rock will be of 1000 years, it will be stronger than a new rock. So when there is a rainfall or heavy rainfall such that what happens? This rocky layers, that is a wet land mass will fall down. That is the second one. The third one, that is due to earthquake, that is by heavy rainfall or earthquake. New cracks or unusual bulges in the ground or street pavements. So if there is any tension cracks are there in the roads and other things, then there will be a due to the stress, that is the shear stress overcomes the shear strength, then there is a possibility of landslide. The next one, landslide, what are the risk parameters? Tilting or cracking of concrete floors and foundation. In a home, right, if my home is in a hilly area, if there is some unusual cracking is taking place and I can know that there is some disturbances are taken place below the ground level, so there will be a landslide. Okay, so soil moving away from foundation. What happens if this is a building, these are the foundation, so the soil layer will erode, right? Here from here, the soil layer will erode and that will be another indication that there will be a landslide. Broken water lines and underground pipelines, underground utilities are drainage lines, water lines, pipelines, everything, or any even the communication lines, everything that will be a damage or broken, the lines will be broken, which will be an indication of that landslide. The next, leaning telephone poles. I told you now already in the classes, if the tree is like this, okay, but if the tree is moving, that is a movement of the trees, that is a slope in the trees. If the leaning of the trees is there or the poles is there, or even the compound wall, if this is a fences, the fences or the compound wall like this has been moved like this, then we can say that there is an indication of the movement of the earth. Like this, that is will be the occurrence of the landslide may be there, right? Maximum this movement movement is due to creep. Long term sufficient movement, there will be a movement in the fringe, but that indicates that there is a movement is there. We have to take that there may be a landslide. Okay? Not only the telephone poles and trees, even the retaining walls and the fences. I told you fence. Sudden decrease in groundwater levels through rain is still falling or just recently stopped. Okay? So when there is a groundwater level going up and down, there is a sudden fall in the groundwater, then I can know there is a movement in the underground water level, which can be there will be a landslide. So now we will go in for the mitigation strategies. What is mitigation? What are the measures that we are going to take, right? The hazard mapping. That is, already I told you now, we have seen about the India mapping. In India, the Himalayas, in the northern areas and the southern areas, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, every places there was a indication that there will be a landslide. Okay? So that hazard mapping should be proper. And land use. So the land use, that is, we should not cut the tree, and the land going again and again and again construction of the buildings, it will also a maximum reason for a landslide, because what is the main thing is that it increases the load on the site, and also the shear strength will get decreased by the soil, and the uses of machinery for the construction disturbs the entire soil layer, right? That is one of the landslide. Then retaining walls. If the retaining walls is constructed properly, we can somewhat prevent. If the retaining wall is not constructed, then we have to go in for the construction of retaining wall. Surface drainage control works. We have to know that how the drainage system is going, right? So if the drainage system, when we are going in for a surface drainage system, it is good. If you are going for an underground drainage system in a landslide area, then we are disturbing the entire underground drainage systems. The engineered structures. The engineered structures are dams, bridges, maximum dams. Dams is one of the things. If I am going to construct a dam, I should be made sure that the landslide is not there in that area, and increasing vegetation cover. This is one of the things that we can safeguard, minimize the erosion, by which I can increase the vegetation cover, by which I can increase the mitigation, that is the landslide. I can prevent the landslide and the insurance. Okay. So the hazard mapping will locate areas prone to slope failures. This will permit to identify avoidance of area of the building settlement. So we can see if there is this is a hilly area which I have considered. Okay. So there may be a landslide that is occurring in this zone. So if I am going to construct a building, I should take a place where there is no landslides are there. I can easily identify by the hazard mapping. And land use practices are the areas covered by degraded natural vegetation by the upper slopes are to be afforested. That is, what are the deforestation or the vegetables that is plant, trees are cut, we have to again plant the trees, more trees. Construction of roads and irrigation canals, actually proper care has to be taken in, that is, if I am going for a slopey, hilly regions where I have to construct a road here. So I should not go for cutting a slope like this or canals, for I cannot cut like this. This is a major thing. I should go for a proper care to be taken. Blockage of natural drainage. That is, natural drainage is blocked by the pipelines or the telecommunication lines, any lines, that is also a major failure. Total avoidance of settlement in the risk zone should be made mandatory. That is, settlement of the risk zone. There should not be any settlement. So to avoid the settlements, we can have a gunny bags there, or we can go for any fiber lining, everything we can go. There are so many sophisticated methods, and reallocate the settlements and infrastructures that fall in the possible path of the landslide. So which are there in the landslide means, if this is, as I told you, in this area there is any landslide zone is there, then I have to prevent the construction of anything there, and I have to relocate what and all is there to the other place. No construction of areas beyond certain degree of the slope. Okay. So the third one, it is a surface drainage control works. The surface drainage control works are implemented to control the movement of the landslide, accompanied by infiltration of the rainwater. Actually, what happens if a canal I am going to make it not pre-stressed or anything, that the water can be carried and it can be infiltrated, and this remaining place there cannot be more water and it can be stopped there. And also the engineering structures, that is the dams and other things that should be taken care of. Increasing vegetation cover is the main thing, as we have already discussed. Instead of going in for the deforestation, we have to go for the afforestation, or we have to prevent the cutting of the trees as far as possible to prevent the erosion, right? To prevent the excessive runoff and soil erosion, we can prevent. Insurance will assist individuals whose homes are likely to be damaged by landslides or by any other natural hazards. Okay? And next, other mitigation measures are avoidance of slippery slope and caution during the development activities, insurance of risky construction in risky area, land use, stabilization of slope and structure design has to be incorporated. That is a summary of the mitigation measures. The next one, it is a minimizing of the landslide. So the first one is the passive intervention. What is passive intervention is nothing but the active and passive. Passive is the long term, that is not movement, it is not rotating, it has to be standstill. So choose a safe location to build your home away from the steep slope and places where landslides have occurred in the past. If there is any history of landslides is there, then we should not go and build the houses or any structures in that. Prevent deforestation and vegetable removal, avoid weakening of the slope. The points are repeated again and again because it is mitigation hours and also how to minimize the landslide, preventive measures. What are the active preventive intervention? Reforestation. Deforestation, right? It is very important. Okay, wherever we go, they will tell you plant trees. It is mainly because to prevent all the natural disasters. This is one of the very productive method. Okay, root system bind material together and plants do prevent the water percolation and take water up out of the slope. So erosion will be minimized and the plants help in not the water to be coagulated at one point, which is the main thing for the landslide. Proper water runoff should be there, and any things that is there in the runoff way, that has to be eliminated. Ensure providing a proper canalization network. The third one, it is a drainage. Good ground drainage is essential to prevent saturation and consequent weakening. Drainage is also needed in civil work like retaining walls. Then proper land use measures, that I told you now, that proper building code has to be followed. IS codal provisions has to be followed. Everything has to be followed when we are going for a hilly areas. For example, if I am going to construct a house in a hilly area where the land is like this, means here I am going to construct my home, right? So what happens? I have to put a proper retaining wall, then I have to go for construction of my home. If I am not going to put a retaining wall, the entire house will give a more stress there, and the entire this area will, everything will fall down. That has to be taken care. Okay. So the next one, it is the structural measures, nets, retaining walls and major civil works to mitigate landslides. Bioengineering has to be provided. We will see what is a bionet, we will see what is a geonets and what are the retaining walls. The next third measures is the non-structural measures. Awareness generation. We have to give awareness to the peoples, right? So why landslide is occurring? What is the cause? So you should not do this. You should do only this. Like that, we have to give the public the awareness. That is, you have that personal safety measures has to be made. There may be some movements in the earth, or they may just like they put a pipeline, or they will have a no retaining walls. This can be occurred, but they should be properly educated so that they will be taking care. And financial mechanism should be there. If there is any case of the landslide, then insurance has to be there. And the legal policy. Legal policy are helping the peoples to gain knowledge, right? Support, right? The last one, it is the landslide hazard mapping and use of GIS. So this is the main thing that is there. Actually, this is the area where the landslide is predominantly it is occurring. So why? Because that is a road that is there. So they have cut the slope like that so that landslide is occurring. So instead of going in for this, right, we have to go in for a retaining walls like this. This is called as a retaining walls. So if the retaining walls we are going to construct now, then what happens now? This will prevent the landslide. Okay. So landslide hazardous zone is the vulnerable areas use of remote sensing. So GIS and remote sensing, all of you have heard about it. It is a satellite images. By the satellite images, we can study where the movement is there and where the landslides are there. We can closely watch and we can find out the things where the retaining wall has to be constructed, where there has to be a reforestation has to be done and everything, right? Okay. So the next one, it is IS code. What it tells about the landslide control measures guidelines. One is a direct method. The next one it is an indirect method. The direct method, it is the remains restraining structure, easing of pressure, excavation pressure, reconstruction of slope, rock reinforcement. In the indirect method, erosion control, then improvement in surface and subsurface drainage. Almost you can see here repeatedly it is talking about the vegetation, erosion, subsurface drainage, cross drainage, because these are the places where the water will be clogged if it is not proper, right? So the restraining structures used to control the slope stability problem. Height should be lesser than 4 meters if there is a landslide area. Almost all the hilly areas, the permission is given only for 3 floors. Okay. So example, dry branded mortar masonry wall, then the sausage walls, concrete retaining wall, restraining piles, retaining structures, everything has to be constructed properly so that the slope can be maintained. The next one, excavation method. Okay, so here you can see the removal of the head. This excavation, this will reduce the force. So if there is excavation like this, complete removal means then there will be a deep slope may be formed which will be creating problems in the future. So the tension cracks, though here the excavation in this part will provide a tension cracks and in this part the reduction of force will be there. So the road can be properly laid. And here the moves on the pump that reduces the resistance here and the excavation reduces the force here and this is the excavation reduces the force. These are the things how we can do the excavations. So this contribute increased stability to the soil mass beneath the slope. Excavation, if it is not proper, it leads to the steeper slopes where the landslides are more. So we cannot go for more than 30 degrees excavation. And the main methods used for landslide control are removal of unstable materials. So mainly the excavation has to be followed by the removal of unstable materials, flattening of the slope, benching of slope, change of line or grade and alteration of the slope geometry. Removal of unstable materials, flattening of slope, benching of slope, change of line or grade, alteration of slope geometry. Reconstruction of slope using reinforced earth. The next one, it is a reconstruction of slope. That is reinforced earth. I will see in the figures how the reinforced earth with metallic stripes are used. Geofabric reinforcement. Fabric means like that is the dresses. Like that of small thin layer of fabrics are used for the metallic. This is to prevent the slope from falling in. Slope reinforcement by soil nailing and micro piles, root piles for soil stabilization can be done. Where there is a loose soil conditions are there now, very loose soils are there, then they will go in for this stabilization. Soils are there, they go for this stabilization methods. And the rock reinforcement, rock slides, rock falls can be stabilized by the rock reinforcement. The erosion control measures. So these are the direct measures. The last one, it is erosion control method, plantation of the tree and also asphalt mulch treatment, slope treatment, valley benching. These are the things that will be able to withstand, and also the main thing is to establish a vegetative cover. Plantation of trees and plantation of vegetations. And we have to select a tree such that it absorbs more water so that the water stagnation will not be there. And the next one, it is a surface drainage method. So surface drainage method, you have to keep the runoff properly. The drainage has to be corrected and the water has to be reached the river or the streams and the minimum landslide has to be occurred. Maximizing runoff from the unstable area and controlling and collecting the runoff. The next one, it is the catch water, that is mainly for the surface drainage. Catch water and inceptor drains, roadside drains and cross drains has to be properly laid in order to make this surface drainage method effective. The subsurface drainage is usually more effective for deeper seated stagnant because it leads to decrease in pore water pressure. And the subsurface drainage also, not the fully covered drainage pipes can be used. It can be used with perforation, which will take even the rainwater when it is coming in the rainy season. Okay, water pressure. This pore water pressure directly influences the failure plane, which gives a more landslide. So that can be prevented and tends to produce a more stable condition of landslide area. Horizontal drains. So here you can see, right? So it is the jute or the coir. So here you can see these are the jute or the coir netting that was happening. So what happens there? The vegetation is there, jute or wet coir placed like this. So the movement of the soil will be minimized. The ingression of water will be minimized. This will prevent the water. Here you can see here gully control, that is the gunny bags. So gunny bags fully packed with the gunny bags so that it will give the pressure there and it will not give a overflow of the landslide. And the next one, this is the nailing. So here you can see the retaining walls. These are the retaining walls. Okay, these are the retaining walls constructed. This is the road. Here the retaining wall constructed. Or we are nailing the precast members to the thing. This is called as nailing. You have several steel rods that is nailed. Okay. So the next one, it is the boulder. That is here you can see the net attached. I don't know whether it is a fencing. Fencing is there. You can see, and the net is attached throughout in order to protect the hikers from debris falling from the thing. So the debris can be prevented in order to make the stream flow fully. And the next one, it is a prefabricated channels. Prefabricated means we are making a channel in between. So when there is more rain is there, this channel will take and it will take to the stream or the river to the lower ground without causing much pressure to the next things. Okay. So this will be acting as a channel in the heavy net. So next one, it is a net. As I told you, anti-erosion treatment. We will have a net, geonets or the bionets. Okay. So the geonets or the bionets are used. Geonets is nothing but the provision of deforestation, that is afforestation, providing more grasses, trees and others. That is the grassing of slopes, protection and grassing of the slopes, subjected to the surface water. This we call it as a geomass, and that we call it as a biomass. Biomass is also a mainly the biological layer, right? That is both the things prevents the slope. This is for the subsurface drainage system. It is a perforated pipe where you can see the perforation like this here and all. So what happens? It will give this in between the strong layer will be supported very strongly. In between these layers will have holes like this, which can allow the water to pass through. So it is a micro perforated flexible drainage tube. It collects the water. When there is more water is there, this will collect and it will take in its path, and it will not allow the water to go and stagnate somewhere where the landslide will occur. This the purpose of avoiding penetration of water in any cracks of fissures, further decreasing ground shear strength. Areas prone to landslides. So what are the areas that is very prone to landslides? Here we have seen that is old or recent rock formation areas are more prone. At the base or top of the slopes, that is more prone. And the base of minor drainage hollows. As we have seen now, if there is a like this, yesterday we saw about the ocean erosion. So due to ocean erosion, what happens? The bottom layer will get eroded and the minor drainage hollows will be there. Then there will be a landslide. Base are top of old field slope and steep cut slopes. So what are the areas safe to landslide? Bedrock that has not moved in the past. It is safe for several millions of years. That is a hard rock. And flat-lying areas away from slopes and steep river banks. At the slope or along the nose of the ridges set back from the top of the slopes. So what are the warning signs? Now we will see what we have to do, what are the warning signs, what are the things that we have to do during the earthquake. Landslide. So sticking or jamming of doors and windows. Okay, there may be a jamming of the doors because of the movement of the things will be there. So that I have that means there is a indication that there is some disturbance in the bottom. Appearance of crack in plaster, tile, bricks or walls or the floors, and even in the foundation, pulling away of the building walls or stains. That is the movement of the soil away from the building. Slow development of widening cracks on the ground. That is a street. If there is any cracks, it will slowly widen very fast rate, or in the floors also in the building. And the next one, breaking of underground utility lines. So utility lines are the telecommunication lines or sewer lines or the pipelines. It will get damaged. Appearance of bulging ground at the base of the slope. Right? So if there is a slope like this now, so what happens slowly there will be a landslide, means before that slowly this will happen, and there will be a small bulging here. Right? So that the bottom of the slope, then we have to know there will be a landslide may be there. The emergence of flowing groundwater in new sites, right? So the sites which are not having water flow also, if there is some water is flowing in the sites, we have to take that there is a diversion of water. So there is some disturbance that is taking place. Sudden decrease in creek water levels. Water levels get decreased very suddenly. And movement of fences, retaining walls, utility poles, trees, everything. And the faint rumbling sound that increases in volume as the landslide nearer. That is this sound, right? When this landslide is going to happen, before that itself there will be that movement of the rocks, right? You can see that if there is a, stones that are placed in play from a that is a lava thing. You know that sound, na? That sound may occur. The ground slope downwards in one specific direction may begin shifting the rocks from the underneath. So before the landslide, what we have to do? So if there is a landslide that is happening to their area, before that you will know, you can have to identify all these things, what we have seen before now. Either things is happening, then we have to act accordingly. Look out for landslide warning signs like doors or windows jammed for the first time, new cracks appears in the walls, other things. Consider relocation in case your house is located in an area particularly vulnerable to the landslide. You have to go in for a relocating. While doing so, remember that the build on or at the base of the unstable slope. So whenever we are going to build a building, you have to consider that if my building is not there in the unstable slope. It should be in a stable slope conditions. If there is an unstable slope, I have to go for proper stabilization method, and I have to go in for a proper retaining walls. Then I have to consider that also will not be safe in the case of long rain and heavy rain. And the base of the minor drainage hollows, at the base on top of the oil fields, at the base on top of the steep cut slope. Do not cut down trees or remove vegetation to avoid the slope weakening. This is very must. Trees cutting and removing vegetation is strictly prohibited in the hilly areas in order to prevent the buildings, that is hilly areas, from the landslide. If the house cannot be relocated, that ensure proper drainage and proper retaining walls are constructed. Always stay alert and awake, right? So don't be lethargic. When it comes, we can see like that. It is not a matter. If there is any disturbance, we have to be alert, right? So listen to the radio television warnings in the case of rainfall or any earthquake or any tremor has occurred. Then we have to hear what are the news that they are telling. They usually trigger landslide, debris or the mud flow. Make an evacuation plan. That is always here to the radio or television. So we have to be very careful about this slope. That is, if my house is located here, then what happens if the hill is there? It will be the first thing to fall on my home. And I have to evacuate the place in case of landslide. Okay, so leave the area quickly, inform the neighbors also. If you find out any disturbances like that, you have to inform the neighbors that there is a disturbance like this, whether you are also having, whether it is okay. If there is going to be a landslide, we have to evacuate. We have to also call the geologist. The geologist or the person who is expert in that area, we have to call him. We have to, tell this to the India, that is local police, fire stations, everywhere we have to inform this. There is a place, things that is happening here. There may be a landslide or we don't know why this is happening. You come and investigate it, they have to do. Right? So consulting geologists and consulting the local public work departments. During a landslide, what you have to do? So listen to any unusual sounds that might indicate moving debris such as trees or cracking or boulders knocking together. Right? So movement of the trees means you will say, what is this movement? That the movement of the trees will be very heavy in the case of the hilly areas. If you go and see now in the landslide, there will be a heavy wind will be there, gushing of winds will be there, which will be creating lot of noises there. That we have to take care. And such as trees cracking, boulders knocking together, a trickle of flowing or falling mud or debris may precede the larger flow. So mostly formally there will be a small flows of loose materials from this. Okay, some loose materials like small rocks, small trees, small debris may flow. That indicates that there is a landslide. Then I have to take a proper precautions. Then the major landslide will be there. Okay. So during an earthquake, if you are there outside, this is there when you are there inside. Okay, inside the door, if you have to take. If we are going there outside, try to get the path out of the landslide or mud flow by running to the nearest high ground or away from the path. For an earthquake, we saw that we have to go to the open space. For landslide, we should not go to the open space. We have to go for a higher area or stable area. And the next one, if you are near the river, be alert of certain increase or decrease in the level. And if water flow for a change from the clear muddy water. Right? If there is a increase and decrease of water is there, that also indicates there is a landslide. And if there is a much of muddy water also, we can see there is a landslide. Such changes may indicate landslide upstream. So move quickly to safer areas. If the rocks or other debris are approaching, run to the nearest shelter such as group of trees or a building. So while you are there in the indoor space, you have to sit and remain silent. You have to be alert all the time. Listens to that is the indication of the radios or the television. What are the news that is updated? And landslide occurs outside, right? It is not going to. But if your building may crack and fail. If your house falls apart due to landslide, if there is no escape, hold on to something strong and protect your head. Okay. So these are the things, and after a landslide, what you have to do? Stay away from the landslide area because there may be an after slide also. Only one landslide I cannot expect because once it is there is a change in the geological conditions, change in the rock formation, everything, there may be another thing. So because of this danger of the additional slide, I have to change the pace. Do not drive through. It is not advisable to drive the vehicles. And watch flooding which may occur after the landslide. Check for injured or trapped persons near the slide without entering the slide area. So direct rescuers to their location. Call the firefighters or everyone and help neighbors which may require special assistance. Infants, elderly peoples or any persons, patients may be there. And listen to local audio television for the emergency things. And look and report broken utility lines and appropriate authorities. Check the building foundation walls and surrounding land for damage. The safety of the areas needs to be assured because occupation. Okay. So now you can see how the entire thing is going down. Right? Okay. Very pathetic. Right? So this is one of the landslide. You can see what is the effect. Okay. So here you can see how much boulders of rock, the debris, everything is falling from the because of this steeper things that it is falling. You can see even there is a warning that there will be a falling. So here the rocks, debris, the coastal, everything is falling there. Okay, it's a natural and also man-made disaster. It is also not a natural, there is a combination of natural and man-made. So it can be prevented by several measures like plantation, monitoring groundwater and also engineering, construction, etc. Okay, so as with this I complete this landslide. We have seen earthquake and we have seen landslide. So a kind gesture can reach a wound only by the compassion and can heal. In the case of a natural disasters, We have to give a helping hand to the persons. We have to avoid the things as far as possible. From my side, we have to avoid the reasons that is causing this natural disasters. Thank you.